Why do you think so many people desert a language course? When we acquire a second language after critical period, requires a greater focus on pronunciation practice, grammar exercises, and vocabulary memorization. Their skills, their attitudes, and the socioaffective elements that affect them depends on the several factors, including environmental, biological, and emotional aspects. The factors most often mentioned as causes are financial and personal. Most students who arrive at English courses have a little knowledge. However, it shouldn't be ignored that the previous academic preparation is also an influential factor. Most students who arrive at English courses have a little knowledge. This impacts in a negatively form on the permanence of the students in the educational program. If students are comfortable with their learning environment, they are more likely to understand the topic to create a learning environment and know that their language efforts will be fulfilled and supported, they are more likely to understand the subject and take risk with their language production to create a learning environment. A good atmosphere is needed so that the student feels comfortable and doesn't feel pressure when they learning. So remember, there are many factors that influence the dropout from a language courses. The main ones being their skills, their attitudes, and the socioaffective elements that afflict them. There are three important factors that influence desertion. First, we have personal problems, second, socioeconomic problems, and finally, academics problems. In personal problems, we have issues of motivation and personal problems, low parental education, motivational and emotional factors. In personal problems, it's very common that these problems is present in students because when they see the difficulties that a language course have, they feel that they cannot. They are discouraged and disappointed because they believe that they cannot learn. Or in other cases, they have to work and this makes it difficult for them to study better. In socioeconomic problems, we have affecting students with limited resources. Since many are looking for work to be able to sustain themselves in the career or needs required by the course or a career. A person who doesn't have sufficient economic resources will abandon the course and this is also generates a lack of motivation. And finally, in academic problems, it affects students in their academic performance, low intellectual aptitude, poor vocational guidance. Another aspect that doesn't depend on the students and the participants also mentioned has to do with the procedure and the performance of the teachers. That is to say that they don't have the correct teaching techniques. Since according to the students, they don't worry that the student has understood the class. This is difficult for them to learn another language. From the teacher perspective, say that what influence is the disenchantment, the frustration, the disappointment of not being able to learn or understand and the responsibility that the student a second language implies. The teachers consider that the environment and focus on learners can be for a good way to learn effectively. In the environment, we have biological and emotional factors can create a barrier that limits people to learn. For this reason, the teachers can identify and understanding these factors for help guide the students to overcome these limitations. The different teaching strategies have been created for problem solving to prevent the student from feeling that they cannot learn. The focus on learner, we have teachers shouldn't only be concerned by the creating effective and engaging learning. They should also consider the process of acquisition and linguistic characteristics that support and limit learning a language. For this reason, the teacher takes into account each student with his or her inherited traits, perspective, previous experience, talents, interests, abilities, and needs where the student is a protagonist of his or her learning guided by the teacher. The reason for students dropout. We have the 5% is for work, 43% is for lack of economic resources, and the more high 80% is for disappointment and frustration of the language. If we create a learning environment that encourages the development of empathy, self-image, and confidence, we can reduce anxiety and less effective filtering of the students.